my name is Maddie, or Books with Maddie, and today is part 2 of These Books Explode in 12 Months. Okay, so last year in August, I made a video called These Books Will Explode in 12 Months. Basically, it's just a video about picking some books off of your shelves, and if you don't read them in 12 months, they will explode, which basically just means that you have to get rid of them if you haven't read them in 12 months. I hope that makes sense. If you want more details about that video and like kind of my thought process behind doing all of it, you can watch that video. I'll have it in the card. I don't know which side it is. And I'll also have it linked in the description below if you want to go and rewatch that video. But today I'm going to be showing you the books that I read and the books that exploded really briefly. But mostly this video is going to be me showing you the books that I have taken off of my shelves that I will have to read in the next 12 months, in the next year. I hope that makes sense. It was a little bit frazzled. This video is a little bit late. I filmed that video, or I posted that video on August 26th, which was when my year expired, and I stuck with that like boundary, but I am not filming this until now just because I was on my hiatus during that time. So I'm going to show you the books that I'm getting rid of because I did not read all of the books that I chose, and then I'm going to show you the ones that I read and what I thought of them really super briefly, but mostly we're going to get into the books that I'm going to be trying to read for the next 12 months. I kind of edited the rules a little bit for this because my summer was so chaotic and rough. I made some allowances for myself that if I had started the book and was starting to like it and was starting to enjoy it, but I didn't finish it within 12 months, then I could keep that book and continue reading it as long as I finished it like before the end of the year. If I don't finish it before the end of the year, I will get rid of it. Or if I finish it and I don't like it, I'll get rid of it then also. There's 2 books that fall under that category that I really did have the intention of reading and had started, and I was like, I really am enjoying these books so far, I don't want to get rid of them. So there are 2 that fit into that category. Okay, I guess we will just get right into it. So the first books that I'm getting rid of are the Whole To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy. So I had 14 books on this list, but really it was only 12. I had the second 2 books on the list, and I was like, if I read the first, or if I read the second one, then I don't have to get rid of the third one. I'll have another 12 months to read that. I didn't read either of these. I did not have at any point in the year the motivation to read them. I did read the first book, but I'm not just going to keep the first book without the second 2, you know what I mean? I don't ever find myself feeling like I want to reread the first book. I didn't have a problem with it. I don't read a lot of contemporary YA or YA romance, and I don't see myself anytime in the future picking these up, so I am getting rid of them. And I'm thinking about finding a way to sell these or something, and if I don't, I will donate them. I'm not just throwing them out, obviously, but keep your eyes peeled if I do end up selling these in some form. Second ones, we have the Slated series. So I have read this one, but Fractured was on my list. I did not get to it. Even less motivation to read this than those 3. So I'm gonna get rid of both of these. I reread this, I think, either last year or the year before, and I had no enjoyment from it. I really found the story very boring, and I straight up didn't like it. I think I gave it 2 stars. So I am going to be getting rid of those. Next, we have Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rosh. I did not get around to reading this one. I found no desire to want to read this one. I thrifted this a couple years ago, and I never, ever wanted to pick it up throughout the time of owning it. So I'm like, why do I still have it? YA fantasy is another genre that I read so very little of that I don't see myself picking that up. Next, we have The Lace Reader by Brenonia Berry. This book is another one that I'm getting rid of. I guess we're getting all the ones that I'm not keeping kind of out of the way. This I thrifted a couple years ago, and it's a mystery, it's historical fiction, it's like kind of a mix of those. I believe it takes place in Salem, where there's like a group of women who can read messages in lace or something. It's like magical realism. It sounds very interesting, and this is one that I really did want to get to and just did not make the time for it. And if I could not make the time for it when I was having the intention to do it, I don't see how I'm going to make the time for it when I don't have the intention to do it. So this is another one that unfortunately I am going to get rid of. Next, we have Boy Snow Bird by Helen Oyeyemi. This is one that I did get to, and I am so happy that I did because I loved this book. I gave it 4 stars. I loved it. This is a book that I highly recommend. Kind of like a Snow White fairy tale retelling. I loved it. It has so much amazing racial commentary and like beauty standards it's amazing, and I highly recommend it. So I am keeping this one. And then next we have Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff. This is one that I started and I did not finish, but I wanted to keep going with it. This is a bit of a dense book. The writing is not super easy to get through, and so it is one that's taking me quite a while to get through, but I do want to continue with it because from what I read of it, I was enjoying it. So I am keeping this one with the caveat that if I don't finish it by the end of the year, or if I don't like it, I am going to get rid of it. Next we have Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. I did get to this one. I didn't like it though. I gave it 2 stars. I am keeping it, which is like a weird thing that I do. I like to own the books that I've read. I don't like to read a book and then just get rid of it. I like for it to live on my shelf for a little bit longer. I have never done like an unhaul of the books that I don't like, and I do really need to do that. I don't know why. I get emotionally attached to the books that I've read, so I am hanging on to this one for a little bit longer, but hopefully I'll get some motivation to get rid of it at some point. Next we have The Boy Is Back by Meg Cabot. This one was 100% a cover buy. Yellow is my favorite color, and I just saw this cover and immediately fell in love with it. I bought this from an overstock store, so I didn't get it full price. I would never have bought this full price, especially because it has one of my least favorite things that a book can have, which is this as the back cover. I don't know who came up with this idea, but it is not a selling point for a book, let me tell you that. I don't know if this would be considered epistolary because it's written all in like emails and text, which is something that I think that I will hate. If I ever have to read something like that, I think that I will hate it, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to put myself through the potential hatred that I will have for that. I think I will hate that, so I'm not going to keep it and I'm not going to read it. Next, we have Siracusa by Delia Ephron. This has been on my shelf forever, and I finally got to it. I think I gave it 3 stars. I also thrifted this one. I thought it was a mystery. Going into it, I had mystery expectations, which I think is why I was holding off on it for so long. It is not a mystery. It has mystery at the very end, but it is much more like a psychological contemporary. I don't really know if those are words that would make sense. I enjoyed it reasonably. It was okay. I don't know that I would be like, yes, you have to read this book, like how I felt about Boy Snow Bird. It was okay. I'm glad I read it. I think it's like fairly forgettable. I don't think this is one that's gonna I'm gonna hold on to for many years to come. But yeah, it was okay. I think that there is a certain audience who would really like this book. And if you are interested in it, look it up. I really don't have time to say all the synopsis. Okay, so next we have The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, which I did read, and I'm so glad I did. I'm not glad because I loved it so much, because it was okay. I think I gave it like 3.5. But I'm really glad that I finally read a Ruth Ware book, because this one especially has been on my shelf for years and I've been meaning to pick up Ruth Ware, and this one definitely did motivate me to pick up another Ruth Ware in the future. This book was very good, and the end had a very good twist, and I actually really liked the ending of this book. It was a bit slow, and I think it could have been shorter, and there are like some of those kind of typical criticisms that I have over mysteries that I read, because I don't like mysteries and I always think they're too drawn out. But I do recommend this one. I think that there are a lot of people who would like this book way more than I did, and I actually liked it. So yeah, that's all I have to say. And I listened to it on audio, and I thought the audiobook was very good. Lastly, we have The Last Voyage of Poe Blythe, which is the second book that I am going to save until the end of the year. This one I am a bit farther in than Fates and Furies. I am very curious about this one, to be honest. This isn't one that I would typically keep around, and honestly, I think this was the first one that I put on this list. I was like, these books will explode in 12 months. This is the first one. And then I started reading it, and I was very intrigued by it, weirdly. I don't typically like books that take place on boats or anything like that. I don't like boat stuff. I don't know why. So I was just very intrigued by it. And I haven't read YA fantasy in so long. This one kind of just got me in, like, I was kind of just like, what's going on in YA fantasy? Like, I haven't read that in a while. Let me see what it's about. We'll see if I finish it. Also, this cover is like truly gorgeous. Like, it's just a great cover, and I do want to finish it, mostly because I started it, and so it means less work than starting a new book. Okay, so those are the first section of the video. Those are the books from the last 12 months. Those are the ones I'm getting rid of. I'm keeping some, getting rid of others, ones that I read, ones that I didn't read. We understand. So now I'm going to go through the book. Oh my gosh, I forgot 2 books. Can I reach them? I can't reach them. Okay, the last 2 books that I forgot about were The Elite and The One by Kira Cass. I read both of those, which was a huge accomplishment, because I read the selection. I was like, I'm never going to pick up another book. But by the time I read the selection, I had already bought all 3, because there was like a time on Book Talk when like the selection, everyone was like, this is great. And I was like, okay. And I was really gullible and I bought it all. I don't like books about royalty. Another trope that I don't like. And so I don't know why I thought I would like it. I hate the covers, I hate the spines, I hate everything about them. I don't know why I bought them. But anyway, so I read the first one. I gave it 3 stars. I should have given it 2. The second one gave it 1 star. Hated it even more. But everyone was like, the third one is the best. This is amazing. Just get through the third one and you might have some satisfaction. And it was the best, mostly because the first 2 were so below average. The third one was definitely the best. I believe I actually gave it 3 stars, which was like a very high accomplishment. It probably should have been like 2.5. I would never recommend that book series because it was a disaster. And it felt like those 3 books were just one novel, just super drawn out for money. I think if they had condensed all of those books into one novel, I actually could have enjoyed it because I think the political intrigue would have come sooner. Regardless, I'm keeping those. I don't know why. So now we're going to get onto the ones for 2022 to 2023. So on the day I post this in 2023, that's the time that these books will expire. I will have to get rid of the ones that I haven't read. I picked 10 this time. 14 was a bit much, even though it should not have been. But I'm also, this next year is going to be very busy because my life is like it's really gearing up. And so I do want to limit the amount of stress that I'm causing for myself. So let's get into the 10 books that are going to be exploding in 12 months if I don't read them. First, we're going to start off with Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple. Thrifted this book a while ago. It is considered kind of like a modern classic. Like, that might actually be a little bit too high praise for it, but this is like a really popuular book. I believe they made a movie out of it. That sounds familiar. I believe this book is about a girl whose mother is like agoraphobic and she has like a breakdown and like runs away, and they're trying to find the mother for like a really long time, and the whole book is about like her having a breakdown and her family trying to find her. It honestly sounds interesting. Books are always well written when they're on the brink of a breakdown, you know what I mean? Like when a character is having a breakdown or an author is having a breakdown, I feel like it produces really good like thought sequences. So I'm intrigued to read those thought sequences. I think there will be a lot of filler in the middle. That's my prediction. I don't think I'm going to love this book. That's why it's on this list. That's all I have to say about that. Next, we have My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jodi Meadows. This is I believe, a retelling of Jane Eyre. Am I wrong? Yeah, I'm definitely wrong. Lady Jane Grey, 16, is about to be married to a total stranger and caught up in an insidious plot to rob her cousin King Edward of his throne, but that's the least of Jane's problems. She's about to become Queen of England. Like, that could go wrong. So, I bought this book a very long time ago, and I remember, like, hearing about it and people saying that this was, like, such a funny and fun and, like, just light, fun read. And honestly, I could use that. Maybe I should read it right now. It's really not like any other book that I own because, like, really its market, from what I understood, was that it's really funny and, like, it has a lot of humor in it. But I have just never made the intention to read it, and I should do that, and I will do that in the next year. And I do really hope I get to this one because now that I'm, like, holding it in my hand and being, like, reading the synopsis and everything, it actually sounds like this could be a really fun book. It sounds like a Disney movie, to be honest, and I'm kind of here for that. This one was a really hard one to put on this because I do really want to get to this one. It's A Million Junes by Emily Henry. I love Emily Henry. I have never read one of her, like, more speculative novels. I've only read her romance novels, and I love those. And so I'm really curious if that love will, like, transfer to her YA speculative novels. So I am really excited to get to this one, or to try to get to this one. I really don't want to give this one away because I think that I will love it. I hope so. Let me tell you what it's about. For as long as June O'Donnell has been alive, her parents have had only one rule: stay away from the Angert family. But when June collides quite literally with Saul Angert, sparks fly, and everything June has always known is thrown to chaos. Alright, so I did not realize this was a romance. I think it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling. I'm remembering things about it now. So we'll see how this goes. Next, we have The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. This has been on my shelf forever, and I don't remember how I got it, where I got it, or why I got it. I don't like thrillers and mysteries. So you can see in my thriller and mystery section that I've taken quite a few out that will be on this list. I never read thrillers and mysteries, and when I do, I so rarely enjoy them. So I'm starting to go through those. I'm starting to pick out the ones that I think I'm going to read. This one has always, like, slightly intrigued me, even if I probably won't like it. So let me just read the synopsis really quick. When you read this book, you will make many assumptions. You will assume you're reading about a jealous ex-wife. You will assume she's obsessed with her replacement, a beautiful younger woman who is about to marry the man they both love. You will assume you know the anatomy of this tangled love triangle. Assume nothing. That sounds really good. Like, that sounds so good. And I'm like, wow, this sounds like an amazing book. And then I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna be like, this was average. Because that's always my reaction to mysteries and thrillers. I don't know. It just seems good. And I've never read it from Greer Hendricks or Sarah Pekkanen. And I want to read it. But if I don't, I'm gonna get rid of it. Dreadful Young Ladies and Other Stories by Kelly Barnhill. This is a collection of short stories that I got probably 4 years ago, which is a long time to have a book that I haven't read. This is a collection of short stories, which I believe are all like fantastical, magical realism things. I remember I started reading them in the store that I got this in. It was a thrift store, and one had like like a woman who could talk to animals, and it sounded really good. As I've gotten more attuned to my reading taste in the past couple of years, I have realized that I don't really enjoy short story collections, so that's why I think I've been putting this off. But I'm hoping that in the next year I will get to this one, because I do remember from when I read of it, I did really like it. So hopefully I get to this one. Next, we have another thriller mystery, The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This one is another one that I'm like, will I like it? I don't know. Anna Fox lives alone, a recluse in her New York City home. Unable to venture outside, she spends her days drinking wine, watching old movies, recalling happier times, and spying on her neighbors. Then the Russells move into the house across the way, a father, a mother, their teenage son, the perfect family. But when Anna, gazing out her window one night, sees something she shouldn't, her world begins to crumble. This one reminds me a lot of the idea of The Girl on the Train, with her like perceiving something and then like possibly like not being believed, like not trusting herself. I didn't really like The Girl on the Train, so I really don't know how I'm gonna feel about this one. I do tend to love stories if they have like a female main character, especially like in like thrillers and mysteries. So I do think that this one has potential for me to like it, but I think this one, as far as like motivation to read these, I think this one's probably at the bottom of the list. Okay, next we have An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This is a YA fantasy, I believe. Let me read the synopsis. Isabel is a prodigy portrait artist with a dangerous set of clients, the immortal Fair Folk. When she receives her first royal patron, Rook the Autumn Prince, she makes a terrible mistake. She paints mortal sorrow in his eyes, a weakness that could cost him his life. Furious, Rook spirits Isabel away to stand trial for her crime, but something is seriously amiss in his world, and they are attacked from every side. Forced to depend on each other for survival, their alliance blossoms into trust, perhaps even love, a forbidden emotion that would render both their lives forfeit. What force could Isabel's painting conjure that is powerful enough to defy the ancient malice of the fairy courts? It sounds like a mix of like The Cruel Prince, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and some dystopian novel. I don't know. It sounds interesting. I just have not heard like super high reviews about it. Like, honestly, that synopsis kind of made me want to pick it up right now. Enemies to lovers. It's fae. It's weird stuff about emotions. I don't know. I'm curious about that. How does painting have to do with it? Like, it just sounds intriguing. But I have heard it's kind of boring, to be honest. I don't know. But I do hope to get to this one within this time. I've said that for every single one except literally The Woman in the Window. But hopefully I actually do it this time. I read all of them. Next, we have The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery by Gabrielle Zevin. I don't remember what this one is about. A.J. Fickery's life is not at all what he expected it to be. He lives alone. His bookstore is experiencing the worst sales in its history, and now his prized possession, a rare collection of Poe poems, has been stolen. But when a mysterious package appears at the bookstore, its unexpected arrival gives Fickery the chance to make his life over and see everything anew. Am I super excited about this one? You know, it sounds okay. I'm not that invested in that synopsis, to be honest. It kind of is giving me TJ Klune vibes. Like, this synopsis seems very much like something TJ Klune would write. I don't know. We'll see. That one's another one that's kind of on the bottom of the list. Also, these last two are also kind of on the bottom of the list. First, we have The Chaos of Standing Still by Jessica Brody. Again, one that I bought many years ago when I didn't know my own reading tastes. Okay, this is a long synopsis. I'm gonna shorten it. So, Rin has one unread text message on her phone, and it's been there for almost a year. She hasn't read it because it's the one last message because that one message is the last thing her best friend ever said to her before she died. She's at an airport. She's trapped. Then this man named Xander accidentally swaps phones with her. Rin and Xander are thrust into the chaos of an unforgettable all-night adventure filled with charming and mysterious strangers, a secret New Year's Eve bash, and a possible Illuminati conspiracy hidden within the airport. And then she's thinking about the text message. She can't move on, and she's starting to move on. It sounds okay. I think when I bought it, I didn't realize that it was YA, and that turns me off from it a little bit because I don't typically like YA contemporary romance. It sounds like interesting, intriguing. Definitely be more intriguing if it was adult, but who knows? Maybe I'll get to it. I have never realized that there are snowflakes on the cover of this, and that makes sense. It's a Christmas book, so maybe I should try to read it around Christmas time. That seems like a good goal. If I don't read it around Christmas time, maybe January, I'll probably never read it. Lastly, we have The Cure for Dreaming, 100% a cover buy. This is a historical fiction novel, and I will briefly read to you the synopsis. On October 31st, 1900, the mesmerizing Henry Revere will perform his hypnotic feats. Stand when commanded, speak when commanded, think when commanded. Let Monsieur Reverie control your mind, and who knows what you will see. Olivia Mead's father wants to eliminate her rebellious thoughts, but the hypnotist he hires to stamp out her independence ends up giving her a gift: the ability to see people as they really are. Monsters, victims, madmen, friends. Terrifying and enlightening, Olivia's visions tell her who is trustworthy and who is dangerous, but only she can find a way to make her mind her own again. Very good spooky vibes. I should try to read this on October 31st, because that's when it takes place. Like, the vibes of it are so good. Like, these, like, end pages are so cool. And, like, it just has, look at that. Look at that spine. It has such good creepy, spooky, hypnotist vibes. There's, like, these pictures in it of, like, stuff going on. I don't know. It seems cool. So, this is the final book on my list of books that will explode in 12 months. I want to get to all of them, some of them more than others. Let me know if you've read any of these in the comments below, and if there's any that you would specifically recommend that I prioritize, because I do want to be very intentional about the ones that I am prioritizing. Inevitably, there will be some that I don't read. I want to know which ones I should get to the soonest. Other than that, that's pretty much the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. I don't know who came up with this idea, to be honest. If you do know, put it in the comments below and I will add it to, like, the description or something so that I can give credit where credit is due. But I have seen, like, many people do this, so I don't know who originally created this idea. I will see you in 12 months with an update on these books, and I'm thinking maybe this time I will, like, do a mini, very small, like, segment for each of these books, and then compile, like, while I'm reading them, and then compile it at the end of the 12 months and kind of submit that as, like, my review for each of the books and how I did and everything, instead of making just a sit-down video like this. Let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing. Other than that, here's your one reminder per video to please like and subscribe, because it really helps me out. Thank you so much for all of the positive feedback in my more recent videos, coming back from my hiatus and everything. I really appreciate that, and I'm so glad to finally be back. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you have a great life, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye!